Hello, good afternoon. So this afternoon we're going to do a couple, 2 or 3 mindfulness exercises. One to do mainly with anchoring, and I'll say a little bit more about that as well. And then the other things I'd like to touch on just briefly is how to only a couple of ways of dealing with overwhelm. I've been working with this myself quite a lot recently. I've had quite a lot of anxiety, and I think sometimes mindfulness needs to be relatively established to be able to be with some experiences, because I think sometimes the mind does have the awareness or consciousness does have a tendency to contract around intense experiences, and particularly if there's some aversion to, or quite a lot of aversion to that experience, as in sort of, I'm anxious and I don't want to be, or it's becoming a bit overwhelming. And it can sometimes lead to a bit of a battle between, one tries to expand or broaden awareness, but there's a tendency to keep contracting around a particularly if it's quite compelling, like anxiety can be. I mean, I notice it particularly if I get it at night, if I wake up in the night with anxiety, my mindfulness is just extremely poor at that point. I mean, poor in the sense that I really just want to be unconscious and asleep. So therefore, working with an anxious state can just exacerbate it, and you can find yourself lying there for, an hour and a half or something, and you're still not asleep, and neither have you neither have I let go of the anxiety. And it's helpful sometimes to know that it may be too much, and to allow yourself to pull back, or to use a kind of skillful distraction. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in the maybe I'll do that first, actually. There's just a couple of techniques that I learned from being on retreat with Andrea Feller, which I found very, very, very helpful. One is which she refers to as the "and" practice, which is quite useful. And again, it tends to be helpful when it's something that one can be with, what you're already able to be with to some extent, but it's a little bit sticky. So, for example, repetitive thinking, or the mind is going towards a minor irritation, or some compelling series of thoughts, and you just keep getting pulled into it, so that the awareness becomes in the object rather than a bit more inclusive. So when that happens, and we'll do a little bit of that as well, is to notice it, and also notice that there may be some aversion to it as well, as in I don't really want this to be happening, or it can be a sense of dissatisfaction, or discontent sometimes, and that can be quite sort of, there's nothing happening, or there's this sense of it not being, there's just something not quite right, and that will pull on one's attention, on consciousness. So in that instance, it's useful. I mean, Vajradevi's touched on it already, but it's useful to look at just sort of, instead of trying to deal with it on its terms, is to just, well, and what else? What else is happening? And hearing is happening, and bodily sensations are happening. So it's not a but or a let's focus on something else to take my attention away from this thing so that my meditation calms down. It's more sort of like building a bigger container, so that the thing or the experience that is possibly becoming problematic becomes a little bit more manageable, a little bit smaller, as awareness expands a little bit more. And that then gives awareness an opportunity to grow. And then maybe we can look at the experience a little bit more clearly, because we're not so kind of right up against it, as it were. Another useful thing, which I found very useful, is if something's particularly overwhelming, I find what can be very helpful is to just disengage from it on in a way that allows it to dissipate a little. And that is just by opening one's eyes and looking around the room and just looking for wherever a horizontal and a vertical line meet. And this is only meant for overwhelming experiences. And you don't stay on any of these corners, they're corners basically, for more than maybe a second or two at the most, and then move on to the next one and see how many of these corners what it tends to do, if you can keep it up for about a minute and a half, and then come back to the body and noticing what's happening, is that thing that one had been getting pulled into is still there, but it's much less compelling. So it allows you to kind of break a compulsive tendency. And Andrea Fuller described getting this from, I meant to look up her name, there was a TED talk a few years ago about it's called A Stroke of Insight, which was really very fascinating. And she was saying that a reactive state in the mind usually lasts for about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. And if you can withhold being pulled into it for that long, it will lose its grip. Although it will still be there, but it won't be quite as intractable, and you'll have a bit more of awareness of it rather than being pulled into it. So that's quite useful, just to open, just for a couple of minutes, just look around the room, and it creates a little bit more space. Another one is just bringing one's fingers and thumb together. And in a similar way with looking at the corners, you just notice the sensations of the thumb as clearly as possible. And then move to the index finger, then the middle finger, then the third finger, and then the little finger, and then back in the opposite direction. And just for about 2 seconds per thumb or finger, just moving back and forth. And that again can help to unlock the awareness from being pulled into something compelling. So we'll do a little bit of just becoming aware of the body, just in a comfortable position with your eyes open or closed. And we'll start with some anchoring. And for this, I recommend, you can use the breath, but there's a tendency to use the breath to focus on. And this is not, the intention in this practice is not to focus specifically. So I'd recommend using the thumbs, I think, because I can find a tendency to, if I use the breath, I can become a little bit too concentrated. And we don't want to get concentrated in that way. So I recommend using, just putting your hands on a cushion or your lap in front of you and just bringing your thumbs together so that they're touching like this, or however you want to do it, but just so that the thumbs are just very lightly touching. And you're not trying to focus too much, just noticing the physical sensation of contact, whether that's pressure or warmth or tingling or temperature. Maintain awareness of these sensations and just see what you notice. You may feel the temperature of the room that you're in on the upper surface of the thumb, under the nail, and the sense of softness where the thumbs are touching on the pads of the thumb. And maybe even a slight pulse. And then maybe just noticing which thumb are you aware of, the right one or the left one or both. And if you look carefully, it may actually just be one or the other, but not both. We're alternating. Which thumb is touching which? So just that level of curiosity. And then while maintaining just enough awareness of the thumbs touching to know that they are touching. Only that. And become aware of the whole body. While placing maybe a percentage of a fraction of your attention maintained at the contact of the thumbs. Just noticing, and what else can you feel? So thumbs and sitting. Thumbs and breathing. So it's quite possible to be able to be aware of a variety of sensations arising in the body while simultaneously maintaining preferential attention to the thumbs. If you find your attention closing in on the sensations of the thumbs, just remind yourself to be aware of other bodily sensations arising. And then bring your awareness a little bit more into the thumbs. You really look at what sensations are there, however minimal, subtle. And now turn your attention to hearing while maintaining that sense of contact of the thumbs. So in a way, the thumb is an anchor from which you notice sounds. Preferentially giving your attention to the thumbs and hearing. In a balanced, gentle way. Maybe half and half. Just be quite playful with that, maybe moving between the thumbs and sounds. Of course, lots of other things are happening as well, but this is just preferentially noticing the thumbs and hearing. And then with the eyes open, let your awareness move in the incline towards seeing while maintaining awareness of the thumbs touching. Continuous awareness of the thumbs and allowing the visual field to present itself. Maintaining as much as possible continuous awareness of the thumbs and noticing that visually the mind is picking out different objects in the visual field all by itself. And the thumbs are the reference point. And then notice, while continuing to be aware of the thumbs, notice any mental activity. Maybe discursive or visual imagery, tactile memories, visual or physical thinking, mental activity. But still keeping the proportion of your awareness continuously at the thumbs. And then with the eyes open or closed, maintain a preferential awareness of the thumbs, but just notice the mind moving between the different sense field, between hearing, bodily sensations, visual sensations, thoughts. Really notice that movement. Mind always moving towards one sense door or another. As if the thumbs are a central point in a moving pattern of sensation. Continuously holding the awareness of the thumbs. And see what else wants your attention. And then let the awareness of the thumbs go. Disconnect your thumbs and just allow yourself to notice whatever presents itself next. A sound or a sensation or a thought. A movement. If you find your awareness closing in on any experience, just see what else is present, and there's this, and hearing, sensations in the body. And mental activity. Which sense door is most obvious right now? Find yourself getting lost in an experience. Notice that you're aware of that experience. Whatever is happening, hearing is happening, and bodily sensations are happening, and seeing is happening, mental activity is happening. Whatever you're aware of is what's happening. And for the last few minutes of the practice, just let your mind rest, your awareness rest on the sensation of sitting. Just knowing that you're sitting, the body is sitting. And then gradually bringing the practice to an end, close. Okay. Just got a couple of minutes for any observations or questions.
Lucy and Dorothy have got their hands up. Hi, it's, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Lucy. So it was very interesting. It was also, that thumbs bit was very, very excruciating for me because a long time before I learned to meditate or started meditating, I used to do some work. And in my job role, I would be in workshops with theatre and education people, and they did a similar thing to a body scan with when you focus on different bits of the body. And I found it created a lot of bodily anxiety and panic in me that I spent a long time in my early years meditating, calming down restlessness and anxiety, and I very rarely get it. But doing that particular thing with the thumbs just brought it all back. The need to focus on a particular part of the body, particularly when I can feel my pulse in it. And I was just like breathing really shallow and really tense. So I was just wondering, would it be better for me to use a different anchor, or should I try and persist?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when that happens, you know, but first of all, I would sort of, if you're feeling quite a lot of tension and contracting around that, is do that, open the eyes, look around, create a sense of space, and then find another object. Any object, it can be a sound, or it can be another bodily sensation, or even a visual object.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the main thing I felt when you said, "What do you feel now you've stopped?" is like immense relief. Thank you anyway. It was really interesting, despite that.
Thank you. Sandra?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. I found it really good. Thank you. I have a breathing difficulty, so I found using my thumbs as an anchor really interesting. And it's certainly something I would do again. So thank you for that. So, and how different we all are, you know, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting. So Lucy, I'll just say again, is I used to get that sense of panic sometimes using the breath, which is why I very often use the thumbs, because I don't get anxiety when I use that. So it's finding an object that you can anchor yourself on that isn't overwhelming or doesn't create a tension. Okay, then we'll leave it there, and see you later.